So today is the 1st of December 2019, and my upload today is about the life cycle of hate crime and a hate crime vendetta. Um, First and foremost, my background is in literature and languages. As I've stated, I'm a teacher, and that's not always an easy position to be in. It's not always a popular position to be in, but languages and literature is my background and my qualification. Um, Technically, I'm terrible, um, but as a teacher, I've experienced hate crime. As a humanitarian and as a volunteer worker, I've also had the issue of people intruding and falsely claiming allegations that haven't been accurate and that haven't been true. So basically, this all commenced not just in the past 2 years or since I got married or since I gave birth, but more so back, really, I suppose, if I'm to be accurate about it, in 2003, when I came back from my university studies in Limerick um, and started working again in Tralee, County Kerry. So, as I've mentioned, there was the experiences that I had with revenge porn when social influencers, as I call them, um, uploaded incidents, recorded private occurrences, assaults, and uploaded those incidents and broadcasted them using their technological know-how. Um, that happened over a decade ago. So that's really when the hate crime cycle began for me in Tralee, County Kerry. It began in earnest in 2017. And in 2017, my privacy was violated, my information was violated, and the most outrageous claims were being made about me. Now, we all have a livelihood, and a livelihood consists of family, home, work, leisure, adventure, career, etc. So, with the hate crime vendetta that I've experienced, every aspect of my life and livelihood has been infiltrated basically by individuals that have not only affected my livelihood but have also affected my health, which also involves not only the medical negligence that I've experienced, but also, and more seriously, the bodily integrity violations. As I've said, there's symptoms of fibromyalgia that have been untreated by my practitioner, and as well as that, there have been other matters involving what they call progress and development and research that I have not been involved in, that I have not authorised, or that I have not been consulted about, that has affected me. So the health and well-being of any citizen is a constitutional right. My health has been affected and my livelihood has been intruded upon by anonymous individuals that are the culprits of very serious and defamatory claims, without even knowing me, without having any involvement with me, but have been guilty in aggressing my human rights. The propaganda machine, as they so call it, in sociological terms, is instrumental in this situation. Isolating is another tactic that has been availed of. The isolation of a victim kind of gave and gives the guilty culprits the free rein to say what they want and do what they want and manipulate who they want to get what they want. And that's exactly what's happened in this situation. As a victim of sexual assault and domestic violence, the causes and reasons that the culprits defaming me and shaming me and isolating and undermining my role as a mother and a teacher and a wife, etc., etc., have exacerbated their lies without knowing the facts. So the messages and comments and claims that have been said about Emer Griffin McElligott in the community that have chosen to perpetrate hate crime and that have chosen to be hypocritical about their purpose in the community has been occurring also. So this entire situation is just shrouded in deceit and just so many lies and so many wrongdoings against a person that they didn't even know. Um, was it because of my career? Was it because of what I had achieved? Was it because of what I had earned? Um, these are my questions. Not once was I confronted, as I've said, about the claims that have been made. As I've said, also authorities and politicians that have been informed of what I have experienced from me in my correspondence to them was not acknowledged. Instead, the lies ran rampant and the vendetta exacerbated and the wrongdoings worsened. Um, as I said, there hasn't been any follow up about what has been said and done. There hasn't been any amends either in what has been done. Now, besides language and literature as my background, spiritual studies has also, and as well as that, progress and personal development from a personal well-being perspective, not a technological perspective of other means of development, but spiritual progress. As a light worker, as I've said, my body has been absolutely decimated. My body, in many ways, has been affected. I've not received the medical care that I am entitled to, and I haven't received the legal entitlements that I'm entitled to. This is a part of the cycle of hate crime. So it commenced in earnest, as I think, over a decade ago, and has exacerbated recently again in 2017. It's very easy when being isolated and undermined in a community to have social influencers, as they like to consider themselves, perpetrating the most heinous assault of human rights and espousing hypocritically um, the best for humanity, but in the meantime causing very serious damage and loss. It's a very sad situation that local authorities and government and national authorities and government have stood by and ignored this situation that I've endured. Um, the supports and services, as I've said, have been withheld from me. My legal rights have been withheld from me. Information that I'm entitled to has been withheld from me. So basically, the vendetta of hate crime that has been perpetrated because of either envy or greed or jealousy or just downright nastiness has caused many problems and has been perpetrated insidiously in many ways. So it's not always easy just to have a person in my position just overnight. In the past 2 years, there's been a very huge effort to cause harm to every aspect of my livelihood. After the first incident of assault over a decade ago, my career was affected, but I was able to keep working as a teacher of German and Irish and then primary education. The defamation affected that. So that was my career and my loss of earnings due to false statements and claims that were stated publicly about me. Then there's the issue recently of the medical aspect, not being able to receive my medical rights as a patient and not to have the Hippocratic Oath honoured as doctors are meant to, has been another issue. Um, my medical information being shared, my confidentiality being breached. These are all things that have happened, and not they haven't been acknowledged either or rectified by the medical council. So that's medics, that's career, family life has been affected, my reputation and career with the most outrageous and shameful, pathetic, ridiculous lies by people that have been so inconsiderate about the damage that they've been causing. Um, so the picture being painted of a woman that is not causing any harm to any person, minding her own business, just getting on with her own life, has been pretty blackened. And as a member or a former member of the fellowship, not to have even received amends for all the damages and violations and wrongdoings that have occurred is just a very sad situation. Because when I entered the fellowship in 2006 after being sexually assaulted and becoming a victim of revenge porn, little did I think that over a decade later there'd be people claiming um, the worst and most dangerous lies about me. The idea of identity theft and soul theft and life theft that has occurred and that has damaged my body and that has damaged my livelihood and well-being since working in 2006, or since starting my work as a light worker in 2006, is a very sad situation, not just for me but for the fellowship, because the fellowship in this area has, as far as I'm concerned, also had a bit of, it's, it's, I'm not going to discuss, but I'm very disappointed about how the fellowship has progressed or how it has regressed in ways and how it has contravened its, compromised its principles and traditions. But that's just my personal perspective. This is a vendetta of hate crime, so I'm here outnumbered, isolated, and undermined and being lied about without supports or services from the government or the authorities. So, this life cycle of the hate crime vendetta I've been experiencing has been at work over a decade and has, on in the two past years, worsened severely. Um, so that's in a short summary, how over 15 years, an innocent woman, Emer McElligott, mother, deserted wife, teacher, humanitarian, a language and cultural student, graduate of, University of Limerick, Hibernia, has come to this position in community due to people's issues that they have caused and that they have not amended or rectified, but have worsened with even worse offences against me. Um, so the fact that I have tried to contact UN agencies and politicians and civil liberty agencies without getting an acknowledgement, while the individual is lying and violating my privacy and intruding and interfering and obstructing what I'm entitled to, um, just shows how sinister this actually is. And it's not a commendable achievement by the culprits or culprit. Um, the tactics of manipulation that have been used in this entire situation, I would consider for the culprit or culprits to be very embarrassing. I think for grown adults to have caused this kind of a problem in Tralee is very serious. It hasn't helped the reputation of this town. It hasn't helped the sense of community in this town. I think that what has been caused due to hate crime against Emer McElligott, me, sitting here in Rock Street, Tralee, County Kerry, in HAPS accommodation, after being harassed from a family home and a marital home due to other people's intrusion in my family life, which is another aspect of this vendetta that has been impacted, just shows how dangerous people can be and how unsafe a society they have caused and created. The worst also is the deception of this situation. Um, they say if you tell yourself something enough or as often enough, that you'll eventually begin to just believe it. And that seems to be what's happened in this situation, that people have not just deluded themselves, but have convinced themselves that what they are saying is actually accurate and there isn't a problem with what they're saying. But in fact, um, from my perspective, knowing the facts of this situation and the violations that have been perpetrated and the offences that have been caused and the wrongdoings that have been, happening, there isn't anything acceptable or tolerable about this situation at all, at all. And if or when the authorities or governmental politicians even think of facilitating any further or even tolerating this kind of a vendetta of hate crime against an innocent woman, um, then I would warn that there could be worse for other people in society and community that would suffer just as bad as I'm suffering physically, um, professionally, financially, in so many ways. There has been such unnecessary suffering caused, so many losses, just because of spite and hatred, and that's very unfortunate. Because, as I said, when I entered the fellowship in 2006 to get over what had happened um, in assault and what happened after that, for this to be happening now, uh, it's very worrying. So, as I've said, as a student of literature and languages and sociology, etc., um, a humanitarian that has volunteered abroad and at home, um, as a mother and as, a caregiver, um, to be experiencing this kind of a situation, it would baffle a person to think how creative people are with their lives, and children being brought up in this day and age, that are being told to be, honest and whatnot, and to, have the principles and values that any respectable human being would have, would know better than to be behaving like how some adults in this situation are behaving, because it's absolutely deplorable and absolutely shameful that this town, this community, has been spoiled by such hatred and malice. And it's a very sad sign of the times that, as a light worker and as a member of the fellowship and as a humanitarian, to be lied about and so viciously treated, without any supports from the government authorities, and to have experienced so many intrusions and interferences without respect for my privacy or my profession or my reputation or my character or good name, um, without my legal rights or entitlements being respected either. Um, I don't know how any government or um, any civil liberty agencies would be just able to sit back and not acknowledge the wrongdoings that are happening. So, as this hatred and malice continues, I'll be continuing my uploads. Like any human being, I want my privacy respected. As a teacher, I would be, happy to be working. I haven't chosen to be unemployed. As a mother and wife, I'd also like to have my roles fulfilled in from that perspective also. Um, but it seems that the individuals isolating, undermining, violating, and wronging and abusing my human rights seem to think that with what they're saying, as they, or what they're lying about, or what they claim, and what they're doing, without any shame or without any conscience, for what I've worked for and for what I've achieved single-handedly, um, is baffling. Because if I was to walk into another person's house and mess around with their belongings or steal anything belonging to them, I, I'm pretty sure I think I'd know what would happen. And I think also if I was ever to be stating the claims that have been stated falsely about me, I think I'd know what would happen. So is this a case of who you know, not what you know? Because what they know about me is zilch. What they have claimed about me is very dangerous and defamatory. So this leads me to believe that it's who they know that is facilitating this human rights violation and vendetta of hate crime in Tralee County, Kerry, Ireland. And if this is how things are, then it's a worse than just a sad state of affairs. It's a very sad sign of the times in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland.